No. I love this. I love every time we start a 5-stack. Welcome to the 5-stack. I'm Dean. That's Zep. Every time we start a 5-stack, right before the opening credits come on, I get you start, Dean. You start. So here I am starting the 5-stack. DeanBlundell.substack.com. That right there. That's my main man. That's my guy. That's my Substack life partner.
Are you tickling me?
Give me a little scratch behind the ears. Yeah. There you are, buddy. And we're here with 5 of the biggest stories of the day. We do it every single day at 3 o'clock, usually around 3. We're kind of late sometimes. You hang in there. You wait for us. Here we are. But we're so happy that you're here today, specifically because this weekend was a shit show. Trump is collapsing in real time. We got a 22-foot gold statue to get to today, a little bit too. We got phones to get to today. Nobody's going to get to. We've got a creeping situation in Iran. Listen, he's lost. The war to Iran's over. The United States is lost, and we're going to get to that. Story. Oh my God, it is. But we need to get into it because it's overdue. Checkmate. Bob Kagan had an incredible report in the Atlantic. I followed that up with this 2-week cliff because it is coming. I watched you with Malcolm Nance, military mind extraordinaire, talk about this energy cliff. Was he awesome? Hey,
he was on top of it. I just laid back, sat back, and was okay, go.
That's why I love doing stuff with Malk. Is that you do it, you get all the subs and you get all the entertainment, and you have to do very little work.
Yeah, he was really terrific, and learned a lot from him about what's really going on behind the scenes. And this oil cliff or the gas cliff, call it what you will, is a real problem, and it's coming our way in 2 weeks. There's just going to be a shortage of gas, which I don't think people have quite factored into what that means, because it does mean that you're going to have to be waiting in line potentially at the gas station, or it does mean that maybe your flight might be canceled or delayed, or your vacation might be more expensive. You might not even be able to go on vacation. On the flip side, the roads might be clearer, and there might be less traffic on the roads because people won't be able to afford their summer vacation. So that might be an alternative. They'll stay home, and if you've got the money, you can drive. But it is looking like a very bleak summer. And then there's still the ongoing crisis. The standoff between Iran and Trump continues, and who knows where it's going to be, where the off ramp's going to be. Potentially, it might even be escalated if you listen to Bibi Netanyahu. That's what I got from yesterday's.
Did you see that on 60 Minutes with?
I was floored by that. I could not believe it. I was like,
can I ask you a question? Let me just, before we get into the top 5 stories. Widely regarded, Netanyahu is to Israel, the people of Israel. We say this all the time. Mm-hmm. To what Donald Trump is to the people of the United States at the moment. But he's been that guy for 20 plus years. Mm-hmm. And he's got this iron grip, which is starting to loosen. I think people are so war weary in Israel. But that's not what I wanted to ask you. I watched a foreign leader on 60 Minutes last night on Barry Weiss's fucking Breitbart Light. That's what it is, Breitbart Light.
Israel captured. I don't know what you call it.
I watched Netanyahu last night effectively tell the American people that I'll just continue to make Donald Trump do whatever I want, and fuck you.
That was the impression I walked away with. I got exactly the same vibe. I thought I cannot believe this guy, who's the prime minister of a different country, is telling the people of this country how they are going to behave in this war and what he would like to see them do next, including sacrifice their kids, their young soldiers, and by sending them into a war zone in which they really have very little chance of success. I mean, the mission, as he describes it, is insane. I mean, he wants to send American troops, maybe a few thousand of them, into Iran after striking them with all sorts of bombs.
Are you listening to what you're saying?
Yeah.
Benjamin Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel, wants to send American troops into Iran.
Yeah, well, he says that Trump agrees with him. So we must take his word for it, because he would know. This is the same guy who fooled, the first time. Well, the second time they attacked Iran, which was just a few weeks ago. Now he wants to do it again by going on 60 Minutes and making a case, which I'm sure they're concerned about the nuclear bomb. I get that. But this is a losing proposition. I mean, there's no way you get in there and get out with all the uranium. It's just
of course not. Of course not. You want the most heavily fortified place in the world? It's not Fort Knox. It's wherever the fuck this uranium is. This nuclear dust is Donald Trump.
And you go to 60 Minutes and tell people you're going to do this.
Yeah. Maybe you're going to co-opt in other countries' sons and daughters to do it for you.
Yeah. It's astonishing.
That's what I found unbelievable. And he sat there with the shit-eating look on his face the entire time, like this.
Yeah, he couldn't even look at the camera. It looked like he was just too embarrassed to look at the camera. He knew how ridiculous the situation was, that he had captured the American presidency. But that's what it looks like. It looks like, Bibi Netanyahu owns the U.S. government now. He does. And he can tell Donald Trump to do whatever he wants to do. He will get it done.
He is. You're 100% right. And listen, there's a conversation here that sits around the word anti-Semitism, which is either a cudgel or you're a racist. And to a guy like Netanyahu and anybody in the regime, it's both. Like, I mean, they if you disagree with what's going on, if you disagree with Netanyahu sitting on 60 fucking minutes going, we'll just continue to make America do our dirty work and we don't give a fuck. If you're going to sit there as an America First person, if you're going to sit there as someone else and you're going to tell me that doesn't bother you, I want you to strip away all the religious tropes. I want you to strip away history. I want you to strip away everything. A foreign leader was on America's foremost news channel, which has been hollowed out by a woman that he had installed as the fucking CEO of CBS, Barry Weiss. And he looked at Americans in the face and he said, I got to tell you, you people here on social media, you shouldn't be allowed to say the things you're saying about me because that's anti-Semitic. And that wave of anti-Semitism is a flow that's now flowing out. And so what he conflated and what he continues to do to Americans is to say, if you don't agree with our genocide, if you don't agree with us co-opting you to do our shitty work, you fucking hate Jewish people. You are a Holocaust denier. You are anti-Semitic. And, it's such a fucking crazy story because I've got so many beautiful friends in the Jewish community here in Toronto. You yourself are Jewish. And I've got friends that work for these, protect Jewish people in Canada have been subject to 70% of 100% of hate crimes. They're 1% in the last 2 years. 1% of our collective population, 70% of the hate crimes. It's a fucking problem.
It is.
But that's why this is a problem. Because so many people, and this is Benjamin Netanyahu's doing, and everybody that sides with the state of Israel to continue to do these things, including co-opt the American government, the most powerful military in the world, almost like he's contracting them through religion and an anti-Semitism name tag that he gets to strap on everybody. And it was one of the most surreal, dystopian interviews I have ever fucking seen from that capacity.
Yeah, it really felt very weird. And, you got to understand that Israel under Bibi Netanyahu today is not the Israel we knew even 10 years ago, even 20 years ago, for sure. This is a Israel whose demographics has changed so much that it's no longer, owned entirely an Israeli nation. It's not entirely a mix of Israel and Arab, but there's a huge Russian population in Israel that has, for the last 20, 25 years, even longer, since the 1980s, has been settling there. Some of them are Jewish, some of them are not, but they all claim to be Jewish. Some of them are very, very well funded. Some of them are oligarchs. You know many of the names. And they are people who have co-opted that government in the same way the Russian oligarchs here have co-opted the American government. And so this is a movement by a corrupt criminal organization that has seeped its way into the world's democracies and has taken over Israel's democracy and installed Bibi Netanyahu as a strongman figurehead. And it's doing the same thing in America. And that is why there is such a symmetry between these two people and with Vladimir Putin. And it's important for everyone to realize that is happening in coordination with what Vladimir Putin and probably Xi Jinping are looking to see the world look like in a few years from now. So that's one thing. The thing about the Jewish thing, and I spoke about this with Malcolm this morning, I think we should stop pretending that it's not a Jewish thing. Of course it's a Jewish thing. It's the Jewish state, and they're doing Jewish things in terms of the settlements and resettlements. They are trying to take over territory and make it into more Jewish territory. I don't think that's complicated to say that it's a Jewish issue. Now, does it mean that Jews are terrible people? No. I think it just means that this is the Jewish state. And if the more we tell people you can't talk about Judaism, you can't talk about it, the more it gives them permission to call you an anti-Semite. Because that's what he's trying to do. That's what Bibi's trying to do. He's trying to tell everyone, well, if you criticize me, you're being an anti-Semite. You're telling me that I have to go, that I'm a Nazi. Well, that is not the case, of course. We can have very civil conversations about why the Jewish state has lost its way, in the same way that we can say that the great democracy shining light on the hill has also lost its way.
Yes.
Both these countries have lost their way, and we need to get them back to where they were. And the reason they've gotten to this horrible place they're at is because of a Russian organized criminal
crime
syndicate
that
has basically taken over the world, or trying to take over the world. It's a very serious situation, and we can't pretend, we're not going to talk about the Jewish part because, well, why not? We can talk about the Jewish part. It's fine. I mean, I'm Jewish. I'm not part of that. I can tell you that there is as much nervousness in the Jewish community about what is going on as there would be anywhere else. This affects Jews tremendously. You talked about the attacks on Jews everywhere in America and in Canada. There's a growing tide of anti-Semitism, and people are getting swept up in it. I've never felt this before in my life, but I'll go talk to people in public or at a party, whatever, and they'll say, well, I don't talk to Zionists or whatever, and then they'll wall you off, like, if you're...
You had someone say they don't talk to Zionists in parties?
And
you're Jewish?
Yeah.
Wow. And so that side of the coin is also equally as stupid, right?
It's all stupid, but it is a reality of what's happening. And I just think that the more we put it on the table and we say that many Jews, and I'm one of these Jews, who finds Bibi Netanyahu's policies absolutely despicable. I think what he's done in Gaza,
fascist, reprehensible.
It's the worst part of Israel, of an example of what Israel should be like and what Judaism should be like that I've ever seen. I mean, I grew up in this religion. I've been told that Jews didn't do these kinds of things, that Jews did charitable works and good deeds and things that are, in favor of the society. That was our role in society. It was not about capturing other people's lands and be turning it into a white nationalist stronghold. I mean, it's an anathema to have that as part of the Jewish religion. And so, I think it's okay for Jews to say, I'm Jewish, but I don't believe in that. And I think it's also okay for Jews to say that they oppose Bibi Netanyahu, because this thing is going to happen in November. We are going to have this war continue to play up. And then in November, people are going to be asked to make a choice between whether they're pro-Israel or anti-Israel. Mm-hmm. And the pro-Israel piece of this is going to be the GOP. And the anti-Israel piece of this is going to be the Democrats. And before we get there, I think it's really important that Democrats say, no, we are pro-Israel too. We are the Jews who are pro-Israel, but we're not pro this government, and we're going to work hard with the independent movement in Israel to make sure that this government doesn't stand, because we're opposed to what they're doing in our world. We have to make that distinction really clear, because otherwise, we're going to have the same thing happen with Kamala Harris. There was she got a lot of Jewish voters, but she didn't get as much as she needed. And that's where you saw Congress.
Because she asked for humanity in Gaza, and they took that and they painted her with that big wide brush. And that was an interesting part of that interview last night, where he was like, every time there's a new election, I go and meet with the new, sorry, I'm doing Netanyahu, who's Trump. Every time there's a new election, I go and meet with the new leaders from both sides. And I met with, Kamala and Biden, and I met with Trump. And I knew that this was not good for for Israel. Because of Gaza, and sort of like how Trump continues to beat that drum with this absolutely devastating loss in the Strait of Hormuz. They have lost. They are in checkmate. They are dead meat in the Strait of Hormuz. They can do fucking nothing. Anybody that speaks out and goes, "We told you so," hates freedom, hates America. You hate Trump. You're a never Trumper. There's this equal and just as fucking sinister opportunity on the other side of you calling them out, because they managed to fucking figure out a way. And this is what I think is really important in this conversation too. They managed to figure out a way to paint you as racist, paint you as a traitor for standing up for fucking humanity. And that has been the master stroke that has kept Trump in business, that has kept Netanyahu in business. And by the way, going back 26.3 years, Benjamin Netanyahu has given speeches about how Iran is 2 weeks away from a fucking nuclear weapon.
Oh, yeah. Longer.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Guess who else employs the 2-week strategy? Donnie.
Yeah.
Guess who was in the fucking Situation Room when they launched the attack on Iran? Forcing the issue. Benjamin Netanyahu.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see the similarities?
I mean,
can we fucking start talking about this on a merit-based basis instead of a culture war? Because this is not a culture war. These are two fucking criminals, two fascists. I called Netanyahu the C word on Twitter today, by the way. I was really proud of that. These are two terrible human beings that are willing to burn everything down around them, including the global world order, including a rules-based world order, so they don't go to jail. Benjamin Netanyahu his wife is a convicted fucking criminal. Benjamin Netanyahu himself is involved in several criminal trials in his own country for criming, like Donald Trump was involved.
It's worse than that. It's not that they don't want to go to jail. They want to put all of us in jail so they can
so
avoid
that
jail.
They don't have to go to jail.
Yeah.
Fucking great point.
That is what they're doing, and they'll turn.
That sounds so much worse. I appreciate.
Yeah, but it's true. They're busy organizing a takeover of the world's democracies, the end of our departments of justice, the end of criminal law and rule of law as we know it, and they're just going to decide that they're kings and queens, and they get to tell everyone what to do and how to do it for the rest of our lives. And that is exactly what.
Can I just pause there for a second? Yeah. Which is what is making what is going on in Ukraine and Russia so much more fucking interesting to me.
Yeah,
and I'll tell you why. Because Putin's dying a slow death.
Mm-hmm.
He's in a fucking bunker in Krasnodar. He's got nothing left. The fucking sharks are circling. And Netanyahu and Trump, and this is a good news story, people, stay with me, put all their eggs in the Putin basket. All of their eggs in the Putin basket. Now, the free world is very tired, almost as tired as the war-weary, beautiful people of Israel. So tired, almost as tired as the people of the United States that have been taken hostage by this fascist in the United States. But if you think they're tired, go talk to the Russian people, talk to the mill bloggers, talk to Soylinov, who are now speaking out against their own regime publicly on fucking national broadcasts and television. They're being shut down in Russia. Talk to anybody that lives in Russia about their sons that went missing months ago and have never returned. Talk to, they know everything's turning, and it's like the fucking worst bet that either of these two fucks made. Pardon my language. I'm going to try not to swear as much today. I'm really trying hard because a really nice lady named Ruth sent me a text on the weekend. She's like, I love what you do, but you just say the F-bomb too much. I'm like, okay, I'm going to try. So, but this is D-Day for democracy. Where we're at right now is D-Day for democracy. And these are really important, signposts to keep in the window when you're trying to figure out what side you're on. If you're on Netanyahu or Trump's side, they're going to lose. They're losing. Putin's losing. He lost. He lost to Ukraine. Some people that were flying fucking Canadian Tire drones into different places in Russia just to stay alive. And now they're winning. And why they're winning. This is why they're winning. Because they give a shit and they have a purpose. It's not about personal retribution like it is for Netanyahu, Putin, and of course Donald Trump.
It's really well said. And I think that you're right that they are losing, but they haven't quite lost yet. And that's what, when we look at the outlook, what's going on now, the rigging of the November elections, and I know we haven't really started the 5 seconds all over the place, but what they're doing with the November elections is unconscionable. I mean, this Virginia.
Are you ready for the hantavirus election cancellation? You ready for that?
Oh, is that you think that's it? Could be. Could be.
Yeah.
But they're going to rig it and they're going to try win it based on absolutely every breaking of the rules that they can. I mean, today they announced that they're going to have all these monitors at voting stations. They're going to have, the redistricting is now off the table. This is going to get worse and worse and worse as their situation gets worse and worse and worse. So we can't expect that this November is going to deliver the result that we hope it will. Even if we win, the Democrats win, it may still not be enough to overcome whatever it is they're doing. And even if we win anyhow, and the results say we won, they might still decide they don't want to hand over the majorities of the House and the Senate if we get them. So we are facing a really difficult uphill battle here, where we have to realize that yes, the elections are going to happen and they're very important, but there's also got to be in our minds what happens after that, or what happens beyond that if nothing changes, because nothing may change. It may be exactly the same going into the next Congress in 2027. So I know that's not exactly the words everyone wants to hear, but it should be encouraging to double down on where we need to go, because the work right now is so important that everyone who isn't registered needs to get registered, and then you need to double check your registrations, and you need to double check them every other month and make sure that they're really still valid, know exactly where you're going to vote, have a game plan for what you're going to do that day, and make sure that you and others do it together, so you have support if anything happens there, and and make sure that this election is not stolen by these guys. They can't steal more than 3 or 5%. I don't believe. I mean, I think they can probably get a 3 or 5% swing in either way.
Sure.
But so if we can coming up with 10% over the expectation, then we're good. We're good. Should we listen to some Bibi from yesterday? Is it worth listening, or should we just move on to?
Yeah, I think we should. I think we should count this as a bit of a bonus story, and then we'll rifle through some of the less entertaining. Because listen, I was captivated by the Bibi interview for a bunch of reasons, and one of them, and I think it's really important, is that for every free American that wants America to be first, every MAGA human being, every QAnon, whatever, what do you got? What do you got? America first. You're America first person. The Prime Minister of Israel is telling, he's got your president on a leash. Your country is 100% being directed by foreign leadership. And it starts in Israel, and then it goes to Russia. And there are through lines through both, as you have so eloquently explained. Thank you very much for talking about that flooding of Russian interest into Israel over the past 50 years, and the purpose of that, and why that exists, because it's really important to talk about. But yeah, this Netanyahu thing, it shook me yesterday on 60 Minutes. So yeah, if you want to play some clips, let's do it.
Let's listen to the one where he talks about his plan for getting the uranium.
War with Iran over, and if it isn't, who will decide when it is?
I think it accomplished a great deal, but it's not over, because there's still nuclear material, enriched uranium, that has to be taken out of Iran. There's still enrichment sites that have to be dismantled. There's still proxies that Iran supports. There are ballistic missiles that they still want to produce. Now, we've degraded a lot of it, but all of that is still there, and there's work to be done.
How do you envision the highly enriched uranium will be removed from Iran?
You go in and you take it out.
With what? Special forces from Israel? Special forces from the United States?
Well, I'm not going to talk about military means, but what President Trump has said to me, I want to go in there. And I think it can be done physically. That's not the problem. If you have an agreement and you go in and you take it out, why not? That's the best way.
What if there isn't an agreement? Can it be taken out by force?
Well, you're going to ask me these questions. I'm going to dodge them, because I'm not going to talk about our military possibilities, plans, or anything of the kind.
And I'm just trying to get at, how long is it going to take to achieve that aim?
I'm not going to give a timetable to it, but I'm going to say that's a terrifically important mission.
Just makes you feel icky. It's the whole thing just is so gross. He is such a con artist.
Shit. Yeah, he's Trump.
Yeah.
Jewish Trump. Yeah, Israeli Trump.
And why does he think that the mission to eradicate the nuclear weapons from Iran is more important than maintaining American democracy? Why is
because
that
because
the
they don't
biggest interest
care
in the world?
Because they don't care. They don't care about America. Israel doesn't give a fuck about America.
No,
Israel doesn't give a shit about Donald Trump. You know what they care about? And I'm not saying, and I don't say this about Israel. Let me rephrase that. Netanyahu doesn't give a fuck about America. Netanyahu doesn't give a shit about America. He doesn't care about democracy. He cares about staying out of prison. He cares about his legacy. He cares about trying to figure out a way to sustain whatever is left of his miserable fucking life, just like Donald Trump is trying to do right now. That's all this is. That's all that was.
He has spoken about America like it's the most malleable, instrument that you can just co-opt in any way.
Yeah,
that they've got everybody in America at their fingertips. They can just tell them what to think, and they will follow their rules. Because yes, they've got all these, these operations that go into the churches. They've got operations that go into media. They've got lots of power and lots of influence in America. There's no doubt about it. But they are wrong if they think that America is not waking up to what Israel has done to them in the last 50 years. And that includes Jeffrey.
And then we go back to that. We go back to that stat that I gave you about hate crimes in Canada, right? Is the misrepresentation of the Jewish people within that anti-Semitism trope. If you disagree with the fascist leanings of one Benjamin Netanyahu, has led to this unbelievable uptick in hate crimes and hate-filled rhetoric against Jewish people in my country, in Canada, in your country, where you live, where you go by this incredible breakfast place called Cafe Lanver. You've been there. I've been there.
Great. Yeah.
Love it. It's a great place where you can go and get a great breakfast. It's a Jewish-owned chain, kind of a higher-end breakfast chain. They've been attacked with bags of vomit, people banging at the doors because they're just a Jewish-owned breakfast delicatessen. And why? Here's why. Because of that. Because that man is committing genocide in areas of the world. That man, Benjamin Netanyahu, is exerting himself, and he's taking the entire reputation of the global Jewish community with him.
He wants to see it.
Yes.
He wants to see
to
the liberal Jews
more
of America
yes.
Be targeted because they can do it. That gives them permission to do what they're doing. The thing is, he doesn't care about the American Jews at all. He is using the fact that American Jews are liberals as a way to make them targets. He wants
I would
them
venture
targeted.
a guess to say he doesn't care about Jews at all. This is an act for him.
Yeah,
this is every
actor.
Jew in the world, every Jewish human being, every Hebrew person, every person from that area of the world, any of that lineage, he is leveraging you and your tribe and your people and your love and your commitment and your resilience. And he is taking that leverage and he is destroying your lives with it because he wants to stay out of fucking prison.
And Americans need to understand that there is when you meet a Jewish person in America, they are likely liberals. They're likely going to come from a very different mindset than the Russian Jews that come to support Bibi Netanyahu and the Russian Jews that support Putin. Those are Chabad Jews. It's a sect of Israel. It's not even of the Jewish religion. It's not even the main part of the Jewish religion. But these guys are extremists and fundamentalists, where in America, Jews have been really big proponents of social justice and have always been sort of centrist, moderates, and have done lots of good work in America because that's the America that they wanted to see built. And the
same thing in Canada, by the way. We have this beautiful, vibrant community of Jewish leaders, and I know several of them. My friend Henry might be one of the most beautiful human beings I've ever encountered, who wants to bring people together. He doesn't want to drive people apart, and people like him are sick. They're sick to their stomachs. They're so sad. They're so upset, and they're so targeted. They're so fucking targeted that they're now in a place where they're like, oh, okay. We need our friends to rally around us that understand the nuance of this conversation. But Benjamin Netanyahu doesn't want to nuance that conversation. Donald Trump doesn't want to nuance that conversation.
No.
Fascist leanings in the new global world order, they are deathly afraid of nuancing that conversation. I would encourage everybody to nuance it every single time you have it.
And reach out to your Jewish neighbors and friends, because this is going to be a very scary time for Jews in America, because this is going to get ratcheted up even more and more and more. And the fact that Bibi Netanyahu has control of all these social media channels and all these TV networks is going to make it worse. And that's all. I want to play you one more clip that he spoke about yesterday about what he's going to do with social media that sent chills down my spine.
Philosophy that you have, that when it extinguishes this sense that it can be eliminated.
You know, you might think that we have this disrespect and this antagonism all over the world, but that's not true. We had a visit here. First of all, many Americans support Israel, respect Israel, have not succumbed to the slanderous.
But the numbers are out of balance in ways they seem
Correct, and for the reason I told you, because I think there's been a concerted effort by several states to basically vilify Israel. In the primarily in the social media, in the standard media too, but that's less effective. The effective thing is in the social media, and we've not fought back yet. So we'll have to do that.
We've not fought back yet, but we'll have to do that. I didn't know what he means by that. But considering his whole,
I'll tell you what it means. If you criticize him, he'll paint you as anti-Semitic, and he's going to figure out a way to insert himself in your timeline. That's what he means.
That's how we know so many people are getting deported because of their original views about Palestine. That initial wave of ICE deportations was all about that. Who probably inspired that? It was probably Bibi Netanyahu. What's he going to do now with all this access to your social media content? He's going to figure out exactly what you've said. And if you said something against Israel, you could be in trouble. Maybe he'll put you behind bars in one of those concentration camps that he's building in your neighborhood. And this is the kind of sick and twisted thing that, Israel is being turned into the thing that they ran away from. They ran away from Nazi Germany, and yet they're becoming Nazi Germany. And that is obvious. I don't even think that's even scary to say. That it's just the reality. And the amount of, we need to be able to speak up against this government, and people should be very vocal about this government. And I think they should be very vocal about the fact that they're Jewish and against this government, because all of that really matters at the end of the day. This is a game of perception, and he is going to paint the world as being full of Jews that are getting targeted, and that he's going to run away with that defense. And it's really up to everybody else to mount a counter-offensive to that, which is going to be, I'm Jewish, but I hate that guy. I wouldn't support that guy no matter what, because what he's doing to Israel.
Kind of like we're seeing with better Americans in the United States, who are like, I want Iran to whoop our ass. We need a good lesson. We need to get this guy out. We're willing to go through that pain. We're willing to be embarrassed. We're willing, because we're so tired.
And my family and friends in Israel, if they think that it's a good idea to jettison American support in favor of the Chinese, they are stupid. I mean, that is really a dumb move. But this is what they're doing. They've decided in this government, in the Netanyahu government, that it's okay. We're going to use America as much as we can. We're going to milk it for whatever money we can get. We're going to steal as much money on the way out. And then we're going to hitch our horses to China. And this is going to be, and it'll be okay because China's going to be great, right? China's going to be great for them. Are they? Is China really going to be so good? Is China's history so good?
China's more of a safe harbor than the United States of America at the moment. Canada's proving that. And Netanyahu said that today. He was like, now we want to diversify away from the United States military brass. And you're like, dude, you are sucking off the United States military right now for that opportunity. But he's willing to go the other way and now start working with China. The New World Order is upset. But more importantly, that this is a man of opportunity, personal opportunity, not opportunity for the Israeli people, not opportunity for democracy or what the Israeli Constitution is. This is the same guy that literally took all the power away from the Supreme Court in Israel and consolidated it on his office. Same guy. And now you're seeing why.
Yeah, there's one of the clip. It's got music attached to it, but I think I want to play it anyhow because it comes off the X. One of these people put music on it, but let's listen to it because it is important, and then we got some other stuff we'll get into.
So you refer to this. I'll put the question directly to you because the New York Times on April 7th reported the following about a fateful meeting, February 11th, in the White House. And the New York Times reports as follows, quote, in the Situation Room on February 11th, Mr. Netanyahu made a hard sell, suggesting that Iran was ripe for regime change and expressing the belief that a joint U.S.-Israeli mission could finally bring an end to the Islamic Republic. Is that correct?
No, that's actually incorrect because...
In what ways is it incorrect?
It's incorrect in the sense that I said, it's guaranteed, we can do it, and so on. I didn't say that. We both understood that we have little time to act because otherwise they'd get nuclear weapons. We both understood that we have little time to act because otherwise they'll bury underground their ballistic missile capabilities. But while we said that part of the action would be the removal of the leadership and other measures, there was uncertainty. And we said it, all of this, is uncertain. If you ever, engage in military
in the confines of that conversation, you noted the uncertainty.
Not only did I note it, we both agreed, that there was both uncertainty and risk involved. And I remember that I said, and he said, that there's danger in action, in taking action, but there's greater danger in not taking action. So there was no certainty there was no guarantee It wasn't pie in the sky the way people describe it. It was, I think, a very truthful presentation of the possibilities and the risks.
Yeah. Can we just for a fucking second?
Yeah.
The DOJ and Trump's own State Department said there is no threat of nuclear attack. Zero from Iran. Joe Kent's running around right now just chewing up Donald Trump's lunch and his lunch as well. That is just gaslighting. Just an out and out lie that he's been telling for fucking a quarter of a century.
Yeah,
Quarter of a century. He's dined out.
Ever.
Yeah. He's dined out on this politically for a quarter century.
Everybody. You know, the reality is we had a much better deal when Obama struck the deal that he did during his first year. And so, you know, that deal got us to exactly where we are now, but even better because, you know, we weren't at such risk. We weren't now facing this looming risk and this economic gas cliff that we're about to face. You know, we don't have that in the Obama version. Yeah, we paid maybe a little bit of money. How much money do you think we're going to pay now? A fortune. You know, it's going to cost a fortune to pay the reparations, and we're going to give up the Straits of Hormuz. I can't hear you.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
So sorry, just 1 second. It's in the box on the porch. Yeah. Sorry, I just had a little housekeeping here.
No worries.
My son, who just walked in. Yeah, the JCPOA and Ken Harbaugh said something to me the other day, and I thought it was really interesting. He's a Navy vet, decorated war veteran. He's a lawyer. He is a filmmaker. The Ken Harbaugh Show. Everybody needs to follow him. He said, you know, the reason why Donald Trump wanted to do this, the reason why he decided to do this is because he's racist. And I'm like, explain that to me. And he's like, well, Obama's black. The JCPOA was a great deal that ensured the Strait of Hormuz would be open for everybody, business, all the time. It ensured Iran wouldn't. And they had to pay Iran. By the way, they had to release sanction money to Iran. They did it in euros and Swiss francs. And there's this video of Donald Trump running around going, he just filled like 5 757s, took out all the planes and put green cash in those planes. That never fucking happened. But what he wanted to do was have his name on the JCPOA. Now, he thought he could just walk in and do what he did in Venezuela and do it there, but he's got nobody in his universe who's going to tell him, like, this is not the same animal. It's not Venezuela. It's 93 million people. It's one of the most militarized areas of the world. These people are so hardline. They're martyrs. They're going to die for it, and they're going to do it with pride. And he's like, nah. Now we're at the point where the JCPOA is done. Strait of Hormuz, to your point, is closed. You're looking at $6 a liter for gas, $8 for diesel around the United States of America. And you're 2 weeks away from falling off an energy cliff, meaning for that super expensive gas, guess what? You're going to have to line up maybe for days. This is 1979 all fucking over again. All over again.
You know what I find really interesting is the biggest opponent to the deal that about it was Bibi Netanyahu. You know, Bibi Netanyahu has been, when he's realized that Obama was going to be the president of the United States, it shook him because he knew that he was not going to be listened to in the way that other presidents would listen to. And he knew that Obama was going to make a deal with the Iranians despite Bibi's objections. In fact, it upset him so much that that's why Tzipi Livni, who was going to be the sort of dance partner, the liberal dance partner to Barack Obama in Israel, never became prime minister. Bibi Netanyahu became prime minister in order to disrupt everything he could in Barack Obama's term. And then you know what he did in 2012? He backed Mitt Romney because he wanted to see Obama be defeated. He didn't want to see Obama get a second term. He did everything he could to stand in the way of Obama getting reelected. And this is the man who has taken away that opportunity of peace from Israel and that opportunity of keeping Israel safe 13 years ago, 14 years ago. He had that opportunity. He had it in the grasp of his hands. He could have given the world a free and safe future. But you know what? He actually likes Iran. He needs Iran. He needs Iran to be his enemy because that's
he needs
what
that
gives him
foil.
the power.
Otherwise, he does not stay in power. It's this, nebulous, and it's the same thing for every dictatorial regime, right? It is, how do we tell you that outside of us is just certain death? You're gonna die. It's gonna be terrible. You're not gonna have any money. They're gonna transfer everybody Like, dude, it's the same fear porn that happens with every regime. So how do you legitimize the fear porn when there is none? A couple different ways: false flags, or you're the fly in the ointment. Yeah. You decide that world peace isn't good for your prospects as a politician, as a strongman, as a leader, as someone who represents nefarious interests, and that is Donald Trump, and that is Bibi Netanyahu, and that is Vladimir Putin.
And it was Bibi Netanyahu who backed Hamas in Gaza. Remember, that's the money flow that went through Qatar. It was Bibi Netanyahu's plan to fund Hamas that then he declared his enemy and then, wiped off the whole region because of Hamas. And, I wouldn't be surprised if there was same fingerprints all over the IRGC and Israel, in many ways over the years have been collaborating, even selling oil for the Iranians. There has been a lot of clandestine ways that the Israelis have been behind the scenes in the Iranian government. So, that is not to say that they're in cahoots, but that is to say that it works for Bibi. It works for Bibi to have an Iranian, enemy that he can absolutely demonize. And that's why they're not going to go away. That's why Iran's going to stay where it is. That's why America is losing this war, because it's not in Russia's interest to have America win this war, and it's not in Bibi's interest to have America win this war either. They're quite happy to have the Iranian Revolutionary Guard in charge. Of course they are. Why not? Keep it going, keeps the party going, and they can make so much money if they just keep the fear ratcheted up.
Mm-hmm. Agreed, 100%.
Now, we've almost done the entire 5-stack. That was just this one story.
I was going to say, I feel like we've just crushed the entire 5-stack. We did kind of the 5-stack, as we got to a litany of different issues that we're going to talk to today within the actual singular conversation. And listen, this is a hard conversation to have. And don't think for a second I take it lightly that I've got a gay Jewish co-host / digital life partner for this.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'll tell you why it's really important, because that man, Zev Shalev right there, is one of the most conservative men I've met. He's one of the most honest guys I've met. He has family in the region. He is completely unbiased when it comes to the humanity of what's going on in Israel. You've got such a beat on what's going on in the United States of America because of who you are, because of what you do. And I want to encourage everybody here. Like, this is as honest as a conversation as you may see when it comes to Israel losing its way and the United States of America losing its way. Because people are afraid to have it. They're afraid because there's so much money and influence attached to not doing this. But we get a chance to do this in an unfettered way here on Substack. And it's so important for people to hear these conversations, especially from a stakeholder. And Zev, you know this. You're a stakeholder. And we motor past this, and this is just a personal note. We motor past this conversation, have other conversations all the time. Like, all the time. And I know this is very close to your heart because you've got family in the region. You were born in the region. You understand what's going on. But you do so much work in so many other aspects to bring light to the humanity of what's going on with Trump, with fascism, for democracy. But you also have this understanding that I feel like we need to service a little bit more from time to time. You know what I mean? Like, I mean that as a friend, but I also mean that as someone who advocates for the Jewish community on a daily basis. I hate to see the hate crimes we've seen in Canada. 70% of hate crimes in Canada were directed at the Jewish community, which accounts for 1% of the population in this beautiful country that I live in and I call home. And a lot of people in those communities are my very dear friends, as you are. And the misrepresentation of that is tantamount to the misrepresentation of Americans because of their president, because of what he's done to them, because of the hate that he peddles, because of the genocide that he's co-opting. And if for a second we can have a conversation at some point, all of us need to have this conversation at some point, that this is not about these wide brush strokes where you paint entire communities with one brush. You have to have several brushes in your quiver to paint a fucking great picture. And what we've done today is we've gotten out a whole bunch of different tones, different pastels, maybe some black, maybe some white, a little yellow, a little blue, maybe aubergine. I'm a big aubergine guy. A lot of people don't know that. It's purple.
I like
it's purple. I do too. Yeah. But we have to start painting with these nuanced brushes. We have to start having these conversations. And the reason why we don't have this conversation is because this has been career death for so many people. And to have someone like you with the background that you have, not just in investigative reporting, but the cultural background you have, where you're from, to have such a familial connection to people that spend their nights in bunkers because their leader's trying to stay out of jail and he's trying to do business with the devil and he himself might be the devil, is truly enlightening. And it should be for so many people. And I would encourage everybody today, go and get a subscription to narrative.org, because that man right there across the screen from me, that man, that beautiful man, Zev
You're making me
Shalem,
blush.
is living. No, I'm fucking serious, dude. Yeah. I was thinking about it today while I was watching the Netanyahu stuff, and I'm like, I got to talk to Zev about this. I didn't mean to hijack the entire 5-stack, but you have perspective that not many people have, but you also have the humility and the understanding and the honesty and to be quite honest, the courage and the scrote, for a lack of a better term, to be able to put this conversation on Front Street that not many people have. We are not pejorative about the Jewish community in no way, shape, or form, any more than I'm pejorative about the American community, which I know and love. I love America. I love Israel. I love good people. I love humanity. And it has been misrepresented so severely by so many fucking terrible people. Number one is Benjamin Netanyahu, who has to fucking go. Has to go.
It's this story is so personal for me, and I try not to take stories personally, but this is a story that runs through my life. It runs through the life of my grandmother, who was a Holocaust survivor. It runs through the life of my mother, who passed away 2 years ago with a lot of the trauma that happened to her mother. It runs through my family in Israel, as you point out, who suffer every day because they're raising young kids who have to grow up in bunkers. It's happening in Israel in real-time basis right now. And I feel it for every Jewish person in America, because I know the play that they're doing, the con that they're doing by using the American Jews as a way to allow them to do what they're doing, when really it's just a small group, a very tiny group of Russian-based Jews that are basically doing this to the rest of the world. It's a sect. And I know that's hard to believe, and it might be like, oh, he's just making excuses, but it's just the reality of it is. American Jews have a lot to be proud of, have a lot to stand up for, and I hope they do, and I hope they keep, really supporting the liberal ideals that they know that are valuable, and supporting the Israeli Democrats that are supportive of that kind of stuff. And I really hope Jews don't lose sight of what's going on by supporting the GOP just because they're supposedly pro-Israel, when they're not. They're just pro-Bibi. They're not pro-Israel. In fact, you would argue that they're detrimental to the future of Israel, because Israel's not going to be a democracy in the hands of Bibi Netanyahu. And the only way forward for this country and the only way forward for Israel is to be pro-democracy. And we all know that. That's the only thing that's worked in the world, as far as we can tell. And it's the only thing that will continue to work. So I encourage people to do that, support, and make sure that you're convincing people who are trying to go to the GOP side, this is going to be an election issue. Stick with the Democrats. Dean, you said such nice things about me, and I don't know how to even begin to match that, but how great you are. And I do want to play one last thing before I leave about moms that I did for Narrative yesterday. But what's going on in your site and your brilliant and incredible news mind that brings us the news every day? There's so much great stuff.
Yeah,
and you're such an incredible person for saying all those nice things.
Buddy, no, it's the truest. It's the truest of true. If you don't give bouquets where they are deserved, then why are we here, right? Like, yeah.
You really are.
You're crazy. DeanBlundell.substack.com. Bitches, money, no taxes. Party. Elon Musk's ketamine K-hole drunk tweeting spree last night.
Oh, I missed that.
You can go read about that. Oh, yeah. He deleted it, but like at 1:00 in the morning, he's in the K-hole. He's like, bitches, money, no taxes. Party. Let's go. Anyway, you can go read that story. He's having a terrible week. It's a great story. The $59 million gold phone grift has been exposed. Yeah, by the way, those phones never existed. Anyway, DeanBlundell.substack.com. And of course, we recap Trump's insane Mother's Day meltdowns, several of them yesterday, which we didn't get a chance to get to. I'm sure we will tomorrow a little bit. And Trump's lost the war in Iran. It's over. Checkmate. We go through the incredible Bob Kagan Atlantic article, which everybody should read. But if you want a Cliff's Notes version of that, and the importance of like one of America's greatest war hawk writers going, yeah, we're fucked. It'll give you incredible insight into the mind and the real status of America. 3 dressed as a 9. You are now Russia. Congratulations. Anyway, thank you all for joining us. Really appreciate everybody spending some time with us here on the 5 stack today, even though it was a 1 stack with a bunch of 5s mixed in, 1, 2, 3, 4. But really happy that we could have this conversation today, Zev. And thank you very much for, being able to put it on Front Street for the rest of us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dean, and thanks to everyone watching today. This is also an opportunity to say thank you to moms who have done a lot of the legwork in supporting us here on Substack, who've done a lot of the legwork in supporting democracy. And I sat around doing a little video for you yesterday because it was Mom's Day, and I hope you enjoy this little ad, I guess. I guess it's not an ad, it's just a public service announcement.
That's such a stupid question. It's the way you ask these questions, which you would be incapable of doing. With a man who's highly respected, asking him a horrible, insubordinate, and just a terrible question. You probably don't see dirt, but I do. Why, BD? Hey, you are an obnoxious, actually a terrible reporter. Are you stupid? Are you a stupid person?
We love you, moms. Thank you for watching the 5 stack today. Nice to see you, Dean. We'll see you again tomorrow. Okay, bye-bye. Oh, maybe it's gone. I don't know. Bye. Bye-bye.